Hey guys, what's up? So today's video is all about a comparison between the Morphe Highlight and Contour Sponge or their Flawless Complexion Sponge. I really haven't noticed a difference between the two, and the Beauty Blender. So I wanted to do this. I mentioned it in my Thanksgiving video, I believe, that I did want to film this video, and it was strictly because I wasn't loving the Beauty Blender. Now I have found ways that I do like to use it, so you will see that in the video, and it is not a huge difference, but I do kind of list like the pros and cons to both and which I recommend. So please be sure to like and subscribe before you leave, and be sure to hit that post notification bell to get notified every single time that I upload. And if you would like to see my opinions on these sponges and see them battle it out on each side of my face and see which I prefer, then just keep on watching. Alright you guys, so I'm going to be using for foundation, I did already prime with my Too Faced Hangover RX primer, and then I'm using the L'Oreal Infallible Fresh Wear Foundation with just a little bit of the Smashbox Studio Skin 15 Hour Wear Hydrating Foundation in the shade 2.1 to deepen it up a little bit, because the shade that I have in the L'Oreal is True Beige, and it's just a little light right now because I do have just a little bit of like a Jergens tanner on, and I'm going to do a full pump with just a teeny tiny squirt of that to do each side, so both sponges are completely clean. I just cleaned them. I'm going to start off with the Beauty Blender side just because I've noticed that it dries out super fast, so I'm going to try this one first. I'm going to do it on this side of my face, and we'll see how much of the foundation it uses too, because I'm going to use the exact same amount of foundation on each side. And I do have just a little bit of concealer around my brows just to clean them up, so I don't have to like be super precise when going around the brows with foundation. Okay, so for the Beauty Blender side, I did use all of that. I'm going to wipe off the excess on the towel so that we're starting off again with a completely clean slate for the Morphe side. So again, I'm doing, you know, a full pump of that, which looks about like that, and then a teeny tiny squirt of that. I don't even know if you can hardly see that in there. I did like the tiniest squirt of that, so it's mostly the L'Oreal one. Get that off my finger. Okay, and then now we're going to use the Morphe one on this side. And I'm not using any spray like the Lila Bee spray or anything like that today, so that I can give it like a true test. So I will say my skin's super moisturized, so the Beauty Blender side is doing better than usual. It doesn't look as dry and crepey. You are able to be a little more precise with the Beauty Blender side than the Morphe one, because the Morphe sponge is just bigger. So that is like a pro and con to both, you know. So like when having had the brows done like I do today, the Beauty Blender is a little easier to get around them. Okay, so far about the same, but I actually did not use all of the foundation for the Morphe side. So this is something that I noticed like right away, like using the Beauty Blender. Like I said, usually like my skin doesn't look this good with it, and it could just be because I have it very hydrated, because my skin is just dry. Like look at my knuckles. I feel like I look like I got in a fight, but instead it's the hairstylist life at this time of year, and my hands are just super dry. So alright, now I'm going to do concealer. We'll see how they do for concealer. I'm going to use my Tarte Shape Tape. I mixed the shades Light Neutral and Fair Neutral. Alright, so I'm going to do the Beauty Blender side first. So one thing that is nice about the Beauty Blender, and I was saying it with the foundation, but you can be a little more precise with the Beauty Blender because it is smaller, which is nice for, like, you know, when I do have my brows on and stuff like that. And I mostly did that because I'm trying to use up the rest of my Anastasia brow definer. But it, I can't be as precise with it, like, it's really messy, so therefore, I like to be able to, like, carve out my eyebrows when I use it. I like to be able to clean them up, just because it's not as precise as the Brow Wiz, and I'm just trying to use the rest of it up. Okay, so far about the same. It did soak up a little bit of product. I don't know if you can tell. I have a little bit more coverage to the eyelid and the under eye on the Morphe side than I do the Beauty Blender side. But now I'm going to use my RCMA No Color Powder. Yeah, RCMA No Color Powder to set that in place. So I'm going to use the Beauty Blender first. So unfortunately, you can't see it in this review because it's not doing what it's done for me so many other times. I think what I have learned about the Beauty Blender is, for one, having it, like, freshly clean every day is kind of a must for it. I think it works the best if it's freshly clean, which any sponge does, but if I'm being honest, like, I'm not the best about that, about cleaning my sponges every single day. So, as well as if your skin is a little dry, I don't think it does very well. Like, I don't know, it just, I feel like it shows everything when my skin is dry. So, I don't know. Like, when it does well, it looks super, super pretty, but, and it's doing very, very well today. I'm just looking at a mirror that's right in front of me. It is doing very, very well today. Okay, so now I'm just going to set the rest of my face really quick. I'm going to use my Merle Norman Ultra Powder Foundation. Again, I'm going to use the Beauty Blender side first. And I just dip this sponge in there and then press that powder into my skin. And I do this because it's kind of like baking, but it's not taking so much excess powder that you then have to wipe it all away. But it really does help keep me matte all day, and it helps to keep my foundation from breaking up, which, you know, I'm a fan of, so. Alright, and then I'm going to use my Morphe side for this one. Alright, you guys, that is it for the foundation and everything, so I'm going to go finish off the rest of my makeup, and I will be right back. Alright, you guys, that is it. I just finished my makeup off camera. I did super, super simple, just some nice natural lashes, and I tried Dose of Colors liquid lipsticks for the first time today. I remember Desi and Katie raving about them in the past, and they really are really nice. They do feel like ever so slightly tacky, but I do really like the formula. It feels very lightweight, and I use the shade Lazy Daisy, which I think is stunning. I absolutely love it. I wanted to get Truffle, but they were completely out. So yeah, that is it for this video. I will say, as like my final thoughts on the comparison of the two sponges, is if you need a little more precise and everything like that, and you like a more sheer coverage, I would say go with the Beauty Blender, because it does soak up a little bit of the product, but it is great for, like, when I was going around my brows, since I had done my brows already. It did fantastic with that. So if that's what you're looking for, I would recommend this. Now, the only thing is I have found that with it, you need to have it freshly cleaned every time you use it. That's just how it works best, as well as using warm water to like dampen it. It does not do very well with cold water. that's when it really accentuates my dryness for some reason, and I'm really not even that dry, but this time of year I do get some dryness because it's winter time and it's cold. So that is my opinion on the Beauty Blender. Now the Morphe Highlight and Contour Sponge, I will say for myself, when it comes to which I will repurchase the Morphe one because it's at least half the price. This is probably $10 or under, and then the Beauty Blender is $20. And this one I can use with hot or cold water. It is bigger, so I can't be as precise around like my brows and stuff, but I don't usually do my brows before foundation, so that's not really a big deal to me. Mine is starting to like split and stuff because I've had it for so long. But this one overall is my favorite. I don't feel like I have to work as hard for it to work for me, if that makes sense. Whereas the Beauty Blender, I have to put a little bit more work and effort into having it work really, really well. Now, when it does work really well, I mean, my foundation looks beautiful. Like, my foundation looks absolutely stunning today. But it doesn't really look any different on this side of my face where I did the Morphe sponge compared to this side of my face where I did the Beauty Blender. I don't really see a difference, but so there's why I will go for this one versus this one. But since I bought that set, I will be using all of them. But they dry out really quick. Like, it's almost completely dry. And I started doing my makeup like maybe 40 minutes ago. Not that long ago. Whereas this one is still slightly damp. So this one holds the water a little better, which I like because if I don't move fast with the Beauty Blender, it does dry out a little too much. So like sometimes if I put a little too much highlighter on, I like to take my damp sponge and kind of tap over it. And by that point, usually this is too dried out. That is kind of my final consensus. But if you love the Beauty Blender, don't feel like I'm bashing it. It is a really good sponge, but I do think I prefer the Morphe one. This is what I reach for a little more often. I did want to compare them just to see for myself. Now, of course, the day that I do it, the Beauty Blender wasn't making my skin look weird like it does sometimes. And I think that's because I did freshly clean it and I used warm water. So I think that is the magic combination to it, and I made sure I really, really hydrated my skin too. So I think that's kind of the magic combination to it, because like yesterday, it did not look good at all. My foundation looked like shit. And the thing is, for me, I don't know if you guys are this way, but for me, if my foundation and concealer and all that looks terrible, it's a bad makeup day. I don't like it at all. My eyes could look like crap, but my skin looks poppin', and I'm happy. But if my skin doesn't look good, I hate my makeup. I don't like it at all. So yeah, that's kind of my final thoughts. I know this was a little all over the place, but my final thoughts is that I would prefer the Morphe sponge versus the Beauty Blender for the price point, and I don't feel like I have to do as much for it to work well. I think it's just a little more practical for me, so that would be the sponge that I would go for. But I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you again in my next one. Bye!